everyone, and welcome to the Business Shower Podcast, a podcast for business owners to shine. I am your girl, Kelly Edwards, and today we are talking with Hope Cochran of Sonder Blu. So, Hope, how are you doing today?
I'm doing wonderfully, and thank you for having me today.
Yes. So tell our listeners who you are and what your business does.
So my name is Hope Cochran, and I'm the founder and CEO of Sonder Blu. We are a streaming platform, but we say we're more than a streaming platform. About a year and a half went into really looking at how do we watch films today in today's world, right? How do we experience those films? How do we connect our friends and our family around those films? And then all of that research went into developing this application. And it's available. It will be available coming soon in iOS, Android, smart TV, web. So we'll be on all platforms.
Awesome. So tell us the story behind how you got started and what shaped you into the person you are today.
Wow, that's a lot. So I actually started life out as a performer. I started out singing and acting. I went to a very prestigious school in New York called the Professional Performing Arts School. Yes. And I sang, and, we did a lot of great things. And then when I went to college, I got really interested in acting. I wound up going to Actors Studio and, going down that track. And in between, and I also, when I was in high school, I was entered into a program at Columbia University, so I was taking graduate level business courses. So I've always had this interest in the arts and business. Yeah. And so when I was pursuing all of my efforts in the arts, I used, my business sense.
Exactly. And you know what? And you need it to get into that business. So exactly. It's good that you had the experience, right?
Right. So I've always been an entrepreneur. I started my first business when I was 15, because my dad refused to sign my work permit. And I was like, really? I can't get a job? So I created my job, and I even had employees. That's how it went down.
Amazing.
So I have an acclimate for it. And then, when you see a need, part of business is identifying a need. And really, Sonder Blu came out of my own personal need. I'm like, this is not, initially I just wanted to watch films with other people. That was it. Like, let me just watch films. But then as I, went down the rabbit hole, I was like, wait a minute, I want to do more than that. I really want to do more of that. And then when I started reaching out and testing it with people, I realized that they had needs too. And so it was like a community helped develop this, because I would release something and too, because I have an alpha group that tests with me. And they go, but we really want that. And so you think a little bit more about it. You go, but we really want that. And then you think a little bit more about it. And then by the time you're done, you realize, wait a minute. Mm-hmm. We're creating we are bringing the experience to people that they are missing and they want. Mm-hmm. Think about when you used to go to the movies, right? Like It was an event. Like you might plan it with your girlfriends, like we're gonna go see this movie, blah blah blah, and then you might talk about, okay, we're gonna go. Maybe we'll get dinner, we'll get lunch here, we'll do this. Like it wasn't just about the movie. So when people say, oh, I watch movies alone, I was like, no, you didn't. Because when there's a whole lot that went on before the movie. There's a whole lot that goes on after the movie. Mm-hmm. And so a lot of thought went into, well, what is that experience like today?
Exactly. Okay. Well, that is amazing. Let me just tell you. So how did you come up with your name? Your name is very interesting.
So it actually comes from two French words. One's a French word, and one is actually from the book of, I think it's called The Book of Forgotten Souls. I have to look it up. I'm not 100% sure.
Okay.
But in this sort of like reimagining of the definition, it says that no matter, you are in the background of my life, but your life is also relevant, right? Like your life is relevant. And when I'm in the background of your life, my life is still relevant. So it's like everyone's important. And so one of the things on my platform is everyone has a voice. Everyone has their taste. All of that is important. I may not be watching what you watch or like, but this is a place where you can explore it, right? Yeah. And blue is a safe color, a safe space. And one of the things that I find is on social media and a lot of platforms, it's either me-centered, right? Or it's designed to, it's not necessarily a safe space. And so that's where the name comes from.
Okay. I love the name, just to put that out there.
Thank you.
Blue is like one of my favorite colors. So when I saw it, I was just like, oh, this is
I just beat on that name. Do you know how long it took me to come up with this name?
Let me tell you, I think every business owner, it takes them forever to come up with their name because they, their name has to represent them, be unique. So I completely get it. So what experience did you take from school that helped you, kind of aided you into starting your own business?
Well, interesting. Being in music, I spent when I at the professional, just start there at the professional performing arts school. We rehearsed on top of our regular schoolwork, and we had to stay up. We had to. Our school was designed so that we had higher standards than other schools because I guess they figured performing arts kids would just goof off. So in addition to our school load, we rehearsed 25 hours a week. We came in sometimes during the summers for rehearsal to work on something that maybe we would start work on in the fall. So there is a lot of focus and discipline and the ability to hone in on what you're doing right now. I think that a lot of the people I went to school with when we were 14, 15 years old, we had deeper focus than the average because you had to be present. If you're working on stage work and you turn left and someone turns right, that can be an accident. So we were very, as a group, I think we were very focused, disciplined, hyper-vigilant. Now, when everyone was cut and wrapped, I think we're a bunch of goofballs, but, in the moment. So that's something I learned. The other thing is I'm dyslexic. And I feel like my greatest strengths came out of that. It taught me that failure is okay. I actually embrace failure but I go, okay, I failed at this. Why? Like, this is my lesson to learn. This is my moment to learn, my moment to, maybe make an alteration. Everyone gets a little down when they're like, oh man, I didn't want to do that. But there's a difference between going into a pit and then going, okay, wait a minute. And I get very methodical about it.
No, listen. Keep going.
Right? Go ahead.
Because you never know who's listening and who could be going through something. And, they might be dyslexic too. And it's kind of like, if she can do it, I can do it. So We don't know who we're inspiring who's listening to this podcast. I
always say dyslexia is not about me. It's about other people. Like you just learn differently. You approach things differently. I tend to simplify things. I'm very organized. But really it's like, what it taught me was, okay, so your goal was X and you fell short of that goal and you weren't on the mark. What could have been done differently? Sometimes you change just a little thing and it makes sometimes you have to scrap the whole thing. But when frustration and anxiety is in the mix, you don't see clearly the components,
Nope.
right? And so you're not necessarily making clear decisions, not necessarily better decisions, but clear decisions. And even if you're able to overcome that hump in the midst of that frustration and anxiety, you may not know why you did it. And so you can't replicate it. Mm-hmm. So you wasted the failure. So in my life, I've learned, don't waste your failures. Revel in your successes and share those successes with people and help other people, right? But never shy. But if you're failing at something, bravo. Take a beat. You're about to get a PhD in this right now. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Figure it out.
Yep, absolutely. Okay, so we know that not even. So let's go to this question, because this is the question that I want to ask you. So what do you enjoy most about being an entrepreneur, and what is the hardest?
My mind is kind of in the gray. Like some people see the world very black and white, mm-hmm. and it's either this or that. That's it. Okay. When you're an entrepreneur, you get to shape the gray that everyone else, it then becomes black and white for other people. Okay. Right. So for example, I'm from Harlem. Okay. People said, oh, they didn't want to build, it's a Black community. People didn't want to build a bookstore in Harlem. Mm-hmm. Well, someone did it. And there's the gray, right? Like, it's never been done. It shouldn't be done. Everyone's in black and white, and someone builds this bookstore, and it becomes the center of community, right? So now you've taken the gray, the unknown, that can't be done. Mm-hmm. It now has a positive impact on a community, right? Just because it's there, it's presence. It's not, so I think that being an entrepreneur is a lot about taking this gray and making it a tangible thing for people who aren't able to see in the gray. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, people couldn't see a bookstore in Harlem. All of a sudden there's a bookstore there, and it's a center of community. Exactly. You get that?
Yeah, I get it.
And I think that's the joy, because you get to, it's a lot of business is problem solving, and having the patience to realize, okay, you can't solve their problems. I'm working on now, and I know I won't see a resolution for another year, 2 years down the line, but I understand, and I have the discipline to work on this right now, because this may seem separate, or but it's part of the stepping stone, and I have to stay on the course. Mm-hmm. So there's that, I love that. I love that about business. And I guess the challenge, the thing that's the same thing, like if it goes sideways, I go, told you that. Yeah, gotcha. So you have to be a little self-possessed and go, okay. But here's the kicker. There's no downside, because even if it fails, there's a greater likelihood the next thing will be a success, because you're taking the lessons from the failures and you're applying it to the next thing.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's so funny that you said that, because I'm in real estate too. So aside from the podcast, I'm in real estate, and so many lessons to be learned. And, you kind of like filter it through. Okay, listen, this first deal didn't go as planned. So now we're on the second deal, and we're going to do something different than we did with the first one. So it's kind of like a revolving door. And it's like every new deal that I get more experience and more experience. So I love it. Okay, so my next question to you is, what is the biggest pain point you've been dealing with now? And, now that we're in a pandemic, you're in New York, so.
We're not out yet. That's my biggest pain point, because it's such a relevant platform for where we are right now. Mm-hmm. And it was not, it was a very difficult decision to not release the site, to not release the platform right now, right? Like, it's just, there's a lot of reasons why to do it right now, but it was also not the most responsible thing to do right now. It wouldn't have been, it wouldn't have been even an okay experience for people. It needed to be at least refined so that when it's introduced in the world, it's okay, like sloppy is fine. When you want, people can forgive sloppy, but there were just things that needed to happen on the back end, to be honest with you, that needed to be there, because if it wasn't, it was going to be, it was going to be bad for business. And that sometimes really, really hard when I should be pulling the trigger right now, and you've got to be disciplined and go, okay, I need a minute, because my heart I was so upset. But I was also I actually had to speak to some of my mentors and get their input before making my final decision on it. But yeah.
It's almost over. I hope.
Yeah. I mean,
look, I'm like, I hope.
That's another conversation for another day.
Yes, it is.
And yeah,
it is. Okay, so who are the 3 people who influenced you most?
My mother, first of all. My mother's a therapist. She's a child development expert. So imagine that in your house.
Yeah.
Imagine that person parenting you. I will say this. My parents taught me, and I just think it's their nature, because I don't see other girls with sort of the same forwardness, right? Like, they taught me the value of my own voice.
Okay.
And that has served me so well.
Okay.
It's also been a pain in the butt for some men, but they taught me the value of my own voice. And that when I use it, specifically with my mom, when you use it, make a contribution. Okay. Don't be reckless. Don't be reckless with your mouth. Make a contribution. Or so. I would say my parents, just in terms of what I've learned, what they've given me. Okay. In terms of my values, some of the principles I live by, I still come from my parents. My dad used to tell me, "You ease your hand out of the lion's mouth." And whenever I'm in a pickle, whether it be in business or personal, I go, okay, I might have to ease my hand out of this lion's mouth. Or it might just,
I like that too. I'm gonna have to use that.
Yeah, it might just be a little chihuahua. So which one are you? Lion or chihuahua?
Yeah, right.
So
okay,
I'll count them as one. They're my one influence. Okay. Beyond them, I would say that I had a teacher named Evie Cochran. Okay. She, without question, you ever had someone who just believed in you? Like, I believe in you. Like, without any evidence of what you thought you could do. They saw something in you so keenly. And she was at least in school, she was my champion. She really was my champion. So that's one. And then I have a mentor. His name is Clayton Banks, and he runs Silicon Harlem. And I love how he merges business with social care, and he's really proven, and he's proving that the two aren't separate. Like, businesses can be run and be successful. Yep. And care for the community, So those are the 3 people I look up to. Okay.
All right. So, what do you think some skills and characteristics are that are important to leaders and business owners?
Well, first of all, if you crumble at no, not for you.
Mm-hmm.
If you can't see past what is there to what is not there,
Mm-hmm.
maybe not. I always tell people, you have people who are managers, and then you have leaders. Leaders aren't they concern themselves with what's there, but they're also building what's not there. They're saying this is possible.
Mm-hmm.
I once had a meeting with someone I was working with marketing, and he said, I don't think we can. And I stopped him and I said, you can't work with me if you think you can't.
Mm-hmm.
And he said, well, that's not what I meant. I said, well, say what you mean. I have an all-out ban around me with the word can't. It can't be done.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, okay, call someone else if it can't be done. You don't need to talk to me. Get it done.
Yeah.
Use your imagination.
Exactly.
So you have to, so there's that. And sometimes you have people who are extraordinarily talented, but that's what they do. That's just what they do. And you have to figure out how to work with those people.
Mm-hmm.
But the reality is you have to be able to turn a loss into a win. Mm-hmm. You have to be able to focus on building and growing. And, some people are managers. And I've seen people who are not really entrepreneurs. They're inventors. Mm-hmm. Thinking of one person in particular. Mm-hmm. No business acumen, not a bit, but incredibly imaginative and and I remember recommending to this person, why don't you partner with the CEO? Mm-hmm. And he's like, no, but it's my baby. It's like, but you're not doing the right things. Like it's mm-hmm. not even, you're not doing the right things. Partner with the CEO.
Yeah.
So, I hope that answers your question.
Yes, it does. It definitely does. So we know that entrepreneurship can be a tough road. So in these difficult times, or in any difficult time, how do you stay focused and continue to move forward?
I'm a weirdo. I have goals that I actually write down.
Okay.
And I break them down. Sometimes some goals are 6 months, some of the goals are a year, mm-hmm. but I plan. I've always believed my dad gets so angry with me because I took a year to plan. And he was like, just do it. That's his thing. Like Mikey, just do it. Mm-hmm. And he's right. Just do it. But there's certain, especially when you are a minority. I've sat in front of investors, and this is why. Mm-hmm. I've sat in front of investors and they're like, no, not because of what I was saying, but because it was coming from me. Mm-hmm. It was me. Mm-hmm. And I could tell, right? And when you look at the numbers, women only receive 5%. Mm-hmm. So for every dollar, a woman gets 5 cents of investment money. Mm-hmm. And then on top of that, mm-hmm. if you're a woman of color, you get even less.
Yeah.
So I had to make very critical decisions in terms of, do I even do this? Mm-hmm. Do I really put in the effort? And so understanding that and understanding the landscape that I'm in, I said, okay, I know certain things need to be done mm-hmm. in order to move forward mm-hmm. and make the risk acceptable. So for example, trademarking, mm-hmm. Patents, all of those things, I literally spent, some people would do it at the same time. Mm-hmm. I knew it was for me and understanding what was on the market. I had to do that first.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So some people can, but I needed to get that done. So part of, I forgot the question already. I feel like I'm just talking.
No, you're not.
But it's this building a business is a process.
Yeah.
And if you have to be organized, mm-hmm. you have to be focused, mm-hmm. And you have to make room for all the things you really want to do. I had a business mentor who, when I brought her my initial business plan for this company, she said, I want you to put that aside. And I was like, okay, what am I doing? And she said, I want you to write a personal business plan. And I said, okay. And she explained to me something. Her name was Lynn Diamond. And she explained something to me that I thought was I found it. She said her company's making millions of dollars a year. And she said, I can't retire. I can't sell my company. Because when I was designing my company, my concern was making money. And I structured it around me. So if I'm the company, how do I sell it?
Yeah.
You have to think about what you want your personal life to look like, what you want your professional life to look like, what kind of environment it's going to be, who's going to work in that environment, how is that environment going to work with your personal life. I don't hear male entrepreneurs speaking this way. I've yet to hear one, but I've heard at least 2 women. And so it really resonated with me. So the planning is understanding not just what I want professionally, but understanding how I intend for it to impact my life personally. Because keep in mind, this is not a, 1 hour a day, 4 hours a day. This is a lot of work, and it can consume your life. So you have to understand how it's consuming you, right? So yeah.
Okay. All right. So with that being said, what is your biggest failure and what did you learn from it?
Jesus.
I know these questions are like hitting home, right?
No, I mean, I'm like, my immediate thought was, what haven't I failed at? I'm just going to put it to you this way.
Go ahead.
It's very difficult to fail. This is what I've learned in my life. It's very easy to quit. Failure is, I have literally, because here's the thing. I've been in a situation where I thought I was failing. And then I've told a friend about it and they'll go, did you try this? Did you try that? And I go, oh no, I didn't. So what does that mean? It means the answer was beyond my imagination.
Yeah.
And sometimes the answer is beyond my imagination. Some things are true failures. Like it just can't be done. Like, for example, what Theranos was trying to do with the blood test. Every scientist said it can't be done. Now, can it be done over time as technology evolves? Absolutely. But you have to develop the technology before you can say you can do it, right? Like you can't say it can be done. We've done it. And because you believe it can be done, that's an automatic fail. Faith does not produce. Faith has a place, but faith isn't going to automatically create a success. You have to have a foundation for it, right? So most people don't actually fail. Things like their pride gets in the way. I don't want to ask for help.
Yeah.
Well, if you don't ask for help, most people, autonomy is an illusion. If you don't ask for help, how do you get past this? So is that really a failure if you didn't want to ask for help, or did you quit? You stopped at, I'm not asking for help.
Yeah.
Right. So, and that's just one example, but I mean, my biggest failure, I mean, like I said, I actually fail all the time. I don't mind failure, big and small. I've had big failures. I've had small failures, but I learn. And so I personally, and I'm not trying to be funny about it, but I find it very difficult to color the failures as failures.
Yeah. So I color the failures as lessons learned.
Exactly.
Yeah. Exactly. So I completely understand where you're coming from. Okay. So what advice would you give someone wanting to start a similar career to yours or just a business in general?
I think it depends on where you are.
Okay.
If you are a single person, that's one thing.
Mm-hmm.
If you are a single parent, that's another thing.
Yeah.
You're married with children, that's another thing.
Mm-hmm.
You cannot make these decisions. When you're a single individual, you can make these decisions and the personal sacrifices that come with starting a business, and you'll endure the consequences. You're deciding to put yourself on a very restricted budget because all your money is going over here, or whatever it is that you need to do. But that may not be the path for your family and friends, and you might need to negotiate that, in order to make that happen. So the first piece of advice is make sure everyone is invested. Everyone that critically needs to be invested are invested, and and that includes your family. That includes the people who are impacted by the success or failure, of said project, of said business. Pick your business partners very, very carefully.
Yes.
The people the marriage you form at work, especially in a startup, is as important as the marriage you have at home.
Exactly.
It really is. And so you have to be very careful about who you're choosing to, bring into your life.
Yeah.
And so that's another piece of advice. I think there's a line between being fearless and being reckless. And what I did, and I would encourage anyone to do this, is put a line in the sand. Put a line in your sand, because what happens is things change. Product may or may not be relevant.
Yep.
Things change. Something happens to someone in your family, and that becomes the important thing, right? Put a line in the sand, or put things in place that allow you to, overcome. You can't stop life. You can't stop life, but business is a part of life. If you're going into being an entrepreneur, it is a part of your life, and you have to respect that. I actually know someone who did something that was so reckless that I just thought it's a lesson for me. Like, someone else did something that was so reckless. So he started a business with two of his friends. They all invested equally, right? The startup money came from all of them equally. He didn't ask his wife for the startup money. He didn't consult with her. And she didn't know immediately what had happened, because he was managing the finances. When it happened, when she found out, she was like, okay, in for a penny, in for a pound. I have no choice. She was pissed. They were angry. I think they wound up in therapy over it. It was really upset. They were really upset. One of the partners flaked. Right? So now you've got two people who are trying to keep a business going. One partner flakes. And his family has needs. And now there was a personal emergency, and the money that he put into this business wasn't there. Someone commented, "Did you get insurance?" Like, insurance is like, and it's just like, no.
Oh, no.
So you left your family vulnerable to start this business. You didn't think about, I don't specifically remember why he was asking for insurance. It just seemed reasonable at the time. And he said, like, yeah, that sounds like a reasonable thing to do.
Yeah.
And, long story short, they wound up getting a divorce. And it's because, and the business never took off.
Yeah.
It wasn't because of, it was, you didn't communicate. You decided you were going to go into and oh, I'm starting a business, whatever the case may be. And you didn't invite the other people who are impacted to the party. And so what happened was they had a personal emergency and the money you took to start the business wasn't there. And people got hurt in your personal life, right? And then it was like they had no choice but to follow through. But then you've got flaky business partners who's leaving you holding in a bag. So what do you do?
Yeah. What do you do? Yeah, I think, that's a challenge in marriage because it's not your money anymore. It's our money. So it's almost like I gotta ask. I mean, listen, I struggled with this for my first year of marriage. I was like, I gotta ask before I spend money. I'm used to spending my own money, but yes, you gotta discuss
with business. Partner.
Yes, right? Exactly.
Or you're making a career change, and that career change is like, well, honey, you're going to be paying most of the bills for me.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, wait a minute, am I ready for that? Like, it's a constant. And I know people don't, when it comes to business, we don't necessarily talk about the personal. Mm-hmm. But I think even when I hire people, I have to, when you're a startup, you don't have the bells and whistles that come with an established company, right? You don't have all those bells and whistles. Nope. So what you have to really acknowledge environment. What environment are they walking into? Mm-hmm. Is this the right environment for them? Mm-hmm. How is this going to impact their life? Someone who has 3 kids and is trying to find a job that's going to support that family, and they're looking to be in a place for the next 10 years, a startup is never the place for that person.
No.
Startup can go a long way, but a startup can also go, all of those things are part of the conversation. And if I have to think about that about the people I'm hiring, what do you think it means in my personal life? You know what I mean?
Exactly. You got to be very picky. Well, not picky, but you have to make sure you're picking the right person to work with you and work with your company. That's for sure.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. That's right.
Okay. So, are there any resources that helped you along the way in starting and running your business?
Yes.
Resources.
Tons.
Okay.
Tons.
Let's name a couple here for the newbies.
So if you're in New York or I think San Francisco, there's an organization called Start Small, Think Big.
Okay.
And they have a ton of resources, like if you need legal help or if you need marketing assistance or if just like a slew of, and they have a lot of, what do they call those again? It's more virtual now, but they have a lot of workshops and things of that nature. That's one. Mm-hmm. I was talking to a friend of mine and explaining to her that most first-year universities have some type of entrepreneurial program for the community or for students. So you can go there. Legal clinics, universities with legal schools often have, law schools often have legal clinics, and those legal clinics cover whether, criminal all the way to business, some of them. So there are resources out there. You have to pursue them. Mm-hmm. What I will say this, and I really want to say this to my female sisters and my, women of color, my sisters who are of color. Mm-hmm. And this is not me being pessimistic. This is me being realistic, right? When you're being optimistic about something, you also have to know the world you live in. When you look at the fact that for every, we get every 5 cents on the dollar when it comes to investment, you have to think differently about how you pursue your business. Mm-hmm. If you get an investor, fine. And by the way, investments are, our new thing. 60s, these businesses didn't begin with investors. Investors make it easier. But you have to assume they're not coming. Mm-hmm. Be grateful if they do, but assume they're not coming. Mm-hmm. And I say that because I want all of us to succeed. Yeah. And I remember I spent a year hunting down, like, meeting with investors. And you realize that if they don't, it's not that they don't get it. Mm-hmm. It was one meeting I had, and I realized it's not that they don't get it. It's the person giving it to them. Yeah. And so, you know, that could have been just in my head. I'm not feeling like it is, but the numbers bear out that we need to think about. We need to look at how we need to look. We need to examine how we're going to succeed as business entrepreneurs, and we're doing it. How we're going to succeed when we don't have that kind of investment dollars coming at us. And I really want my female sisters to, I say female systems, that's so redundant. I really want my sisters to look at the women who've done it without investment dollars. There's a model out there for it. This is what I mean by reaching out of yourself, right? Mm-hmm. If you can contact those people and get some jewels of wisdom from them, get it from them, because the game is not the same for us. It's not the same. Yeah. Don't be afraid to ask them to find a mentor. You don't know everything. I don't know everything. I have 3 mentors. I go to them on any given day. I'm like, I'm so stuck right now. Mm-hmm. I trust them. They sit on my advisory board, and they know they're experts at what they do. Yes. So I just want us to understand that the conversation around business for us women is different than the conversation for men. Exactly. But the principles are the same. Like, you gotta, margins and P&L and all that is fine. Yeah. But yeah. Okay. Okay. So if money wasn't an option, what would you do every day? If money wasn't an option, what would I do every day? Mm-hmm. Whatever I wanted. I'd still be running. I would still be building my company. I would just be doing it a little more aggressively. Okay. Okay. But in terms of my personal life, any goddamn thing I want. I mean, traveling. Yeah. Not right now. Not traveling. Oh, okay. Okay. You're like, I ain't going nowhere right now. Not right now. Woo, we're good. Okay. But yeah. Post-COVID, before all of this. Post-COVID. Okay. Anything I want. And yeah. Okay. So what's your vision for the next 5 years for your company? Launched, successful. Okay. Making an impact in the industry. Okay. Making an impact in people's lives. Positively making impact. Okay. All right. So here's some signature questions that we ask every guest that comes on to our show. So what is something unique that no one knows about you, one of your products or your business? What's about me personally? Personally or professionally? Something unique about me, my product. Well, anything you want to know about the product is on the website, so you can check that out. Okay. Unique about me personally. I'm very plain Jane, so for me, it's like, what makes me unique? I think that's a good question. I feel like such a plain Jane most of the time. Okay. When someone goes, oh, that's unique, I go, really? I tell you, this is what I do when I'm in my office. In quarantine, I haven't been in my office since before quarantine. Mm-hmm. I used to, I sing. So people would come knocking on my door and can you stop? Mm-hmm. And I'd go, what? Like, what are you talking? I sing absentmindedly. Like sometimes I serenade people absentmindedly. And it's great when you're like, when it's great if you don't have to live with it all the time, but when you've got people in your office like, listen, this has been going on for 4 hours, you need to stop.
Oh man. I'm sorry. If you could sing, I probably wouldn't mind it. I'll probably make some requests. Like, can you sing a little Beyonce?
I had a couple of people who were doing that.
Okay.
But I had people like, oh, can you sing that song? Like, I'll learn that song for you. Give it. Okay, got you, girl. Okay. But then I had some people who were like, listen, this has been going on. Like, stop. Like, I need to focus. You know? So I respect that.
Yeah. All right. So, before we wrap up, do you have any questions for me?
So what's your business? What's I know you said real estate. So where are you with that?
Well, I'm on the real estate investing side. So right now I just, thank God, I got funding for 2 properties that we're going to do a fix and flip on. So we purchased it, and now we're about to start the renovation process. This is my first time actually renovating anything in my life. So I'm like super excited about it. I don't know how this house is going to look after I'm done. But I got
to bring anyone to renovate.
Yes.
So
I'm not sure how it's going to look, but I'm very excited about it. So I'm more so at the beginning stages. I just got into it as of this year, 2021, right before the pandemic started. So
you and your husband, I'm assuming you said it's husband,
yes.
Husband, wife. Okay, you guys, sorry to assume, I didn't know.
No, it's fine.
But you guys purchased 2 properties. I'm assuming you took out mortgages on those properties.
No, I'm actually using private money.
Oh, private money. Is it hard money?
No, it's from someone's rich's bank account. He's actually given us his money. He took his money out of the stock market, gave it to us to fund our deal. So,
okay. And what, if you don't mind me asking, what's the split on that, on the proceeds?
60-40.
60-40, his way or yours?
He has 40, I have 60.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what's the estimated return on each property?
Each property, the return is about $75,000 each.
And what's the margins on it though? That's the real question.
One property I know easily could sell for about $240,000. The other one, because this is South Jersey we're talking about. We're not talking about North Jersey. The numbers would be different in North Jersey, but South Jersey, one property can go for about $240,000. The other property we're looking at $200,000.
And what did you purchase it for, and how much are you putting into it?
Purchased it for $10,000. Purchased it for $10,000, both of them. And the rehab is about $65,000. Give or take. The problem is the septic tank is the issue. And of course, we can't dig into the septic tank until we start the process. So, yeah.
Do you have all the permits and everything like that?
Yeah, the contractor is working, getting all that stuff, the CO and everything is happening all this week. So I got a lot of stuff coming up this week. But
what kind of agreement do you have with your contractor?
We have a partnership agreement with the contractor.
So you get a percentage as well?
No, so my investor wanted to do a partnership agreement with him because we were a little afraid of his numbers, because the second time we went, he found more stuff that needed to be fixed, and he found more stuff. So they entered into an agreement to kind of say, this is the rehab budget. This is how much the materials are going to cost. So them two have all 3 of us actually have a partnership agreement together. And then
anything above that, he's responsible for.
Yes. So he can't go above what he already told us.
And what do you have in terms of, and I'm asking this, my father's a contractor. So
okay.
So what do you have in terms of, because we're in the middle of winter, and it's going to get colder. What do you have in terms of a guarantee on delivery and time and budget?
contract too. It's in the contract.
So so for example, and I'm throwing a negative out there because or I'm challenging you. So let's say, for example, he does a quarter of the work and then he disappears, but you've already paid him, right?
Well, we're not paying him all up front.
What are you paying him?
So he's getting paid monthly at the end of each month and as the process goes on. So he's getting his
payment. Why not do it quarterly? So why not do it quarterly and do it on a 90-day net 90?
Okay. So that's interesting. The reason why, because he told us that it would take him about 6 weeks to finish the project.
On net 60.
That's good. I mean, listen, the details are not finalized. So if anything,
I'm bringing it up. I'm sorry, I just want to cut you off. The reason I'm bringing it up is because if he knows he has to put money in, right, in order to get paid, like you've got to, maybe you give him 10%. And then the rest is on a net 90 or net 80.
Okay.
Right? Then he has to complete the work to get his payment, right?
Yeah.
And if he doesn't complete the work, he doesn't get, but he's already put money in. So you're giving him a percentage to start. He has to, if you're going to do a real partnership agreement, I would do it like that. You get paid on a net 60. Okay. So that means he has to be able to float that. You know, and maybe you show him that you have to, you know, maybe there's a situation where he's like, I need to see you have the money. Okay, here's the money. I got the money. But you don't get paid. You know, maybe it goes into escrow. Maybe that money goes in. But if you put it on a net 60, because it says it's going to take 6 weeks, 60 days, there you go. And what I would build in are like if it costs you more, if it begins to cost you, you get to deduct those costs from the final payment.
Okay.
Does that make sense what I just said?
It does. It does. It makes a lot of sense. You just gave me an idea. So we'll be he's in the other room. We'll be talking about it after this podcast. So
what was the idea I gave you?
The net 80. So 10% up front and then the rest of it pretty much at the end.
Yeah, but he would have to be able to, the thing is, as a contractor, he would have to be able to float that, right? Yeah. He'd have to be some contractors, they don't, right? They don't have the means of floating it. But if he's reputable, but this means that he doesn't just get up and go. Because I actually have someone in Southern Jersey, he has a house, he's still trying to rehab. It started with a broken pipe because it's a really old home. He hired a contractor and the dead of winter, the contractor disappeared, didn't come back, not come back. He wound up doing some of the work himself. Then he hired another contractor and that contractor flaked.
Yeah.
So, you know, it's like, well, why did you pay him up front?
He was not getting the money up front. That's for sure. He wasn't getting the money up front because we've never worked with him before. I mean, he sounds like a great guy, but in my experience,
materials. He was saying he needed money for materials. So you're like, really? Buy the materials yourself. You know, what's the cost differential between you buying the materials and this guy buying the materials? Who is he getting? Because sometimes they do get good deals. Sometimes they don't. Sometimes they're just going into Home Depot.
Exactly.
And getting the same deal that you would get. So what's the cost differential? What are your materials? When I tell you I get very, very detailed, I get very, very detailed.
I see.
You know, what are you spending? These tiles, how much is this tile going to cost me? What kind of, you know what I mean? Sometimes, you know, and I've seen situations personally, my dad being a contractor, where they will get you one type of material, but another material is very similar and is cheaper, and they'll give you the cheaper material.
But they charge you for the more expensive one.
Exactly.
Yeah. Oh, I'm going to be watching all of that. So I'm ready.
How are you going to handle this? And how are you going to handle a sale in the COVID world?
That is interesting. I have no idea. I actually have a realtor that I work with that actually found us this deal. So I guess when we get to that, we will cross that bridge. I have some ideas, but I'm not sure what it's going to look like in March of next year, because I think that's when we're going to probably be selling around March, April. I'm not sure what it's going to look like then.
So what's the market in the area looking like?
The market in the area looks pretty good right now in December. But again, we don't know what it's going to look like in a couple months from now. So we'll see. We'll see. Okay.
Question.
Thank you. Awesome. It gave somebody some education today. So guys, as we close, I'm going to give Hope the opportunity to tell our listeners how to connect with you online, Hope.
So if you want to learn more about Sonder Blu, you can go to sonderblu.com. That's SONDERBLUE. And learn more about the platform and learn more about what we're doing. We have a pre-launch community that we've started, so you can join our mailing list. And you would join our mailing list by registering on the platform itself. We are actually sharing in short every month, every twice a month with our people who are a member of our mailing list and our community, our pre-launch community. So join us there. And if you are a listener of this particular podcast, then we will give you a 10% discount. You'll get the code, and you can use it, and that code can be used to. Right now we're doing an annual membership and not the monthly membership. So it's already steeply discounted. In some instances, the full year is already discounted by 60%. If you use this discount, you'll get an additional 10% off.
So, awesome, guys. This will be in the show notes. Yes, this will be in the show notes. All right. So that is a wrap for this episode. And thank you, guys. See you next time. Bye.